Okay, hi guys, welcome to Expert Link and me, David Ford, and this is the second in our series of vlogs based on our conversations in co-production, or about co-production, on co-production. This week we were talking about co-production in the digital world, which is so apparent or so important right now in this particular moment in time. I don't know when you're watching this. Right now, we're in the midst of the coronavirus thing, and we're all self-isolating. Which means having to connect digitally. So we're in a sort of makeshift sort of studio at home, and having to work, find ways of working digitally. So conversations and co-production in the digital world, super important. So I think the first thing that we need to do and recognise is what we always talk about or mention, just to reiterate. We at Expert Link, we don't have a monopoly on the truth. It's just our truth through our lens and through what we do. And that's all about lived experience and co-production and getting the voices of those with multiple disadvantages heard. That's homelessness, drug and alcohol issues, people caught up with criminal justice system, mental health issues, and also victims of abuse and domestic violence, combinations of those things. So without further ado, let's crack on. We've got some great stuff for you. I would suggest that you hang around because there's some really important parts at the end of this that I think that as we race into this digital world that we really need to stop, check and think about that are really, really important. And also there's some stuff around funding or funders at the back. So make sure you stay tuned. And if you've not subscribed or liked yet, do that too. That's helpful. Sharing the word. Building the community, making sure voices are getting heard. On the meeting we had, it was an online meeting, a Zoom meeting, and we had three things on topic or on the agenda, if you like. And it was a curated conversation. We weren't dictating what people should or shouldn't say. So we talked about a little bit about previous practice, what's happening right now, and what needs to happen in the future. Talking about what's happening right now. So online work within multiple disadvantage or any of those disadvantages does exist right now. Predominantly what we've done is we've done face-to-face meetings, haven't we? But in the recovery world and the therapy world, there are examples of where online workers, online stuff has been happening before. And there's been some reports of some really good success in that area. I know Expert Link, along with lots of other organisations, have been trying to get people online and work remotely with people as best that they possibly can. I know that we have. What was coming up is that people are quite often using now WhatsApp, but Facebook, perhaps people weren't using Facebook before as much. They're starting to do it. And if you have a look at the explosion of Facebook groups now that are coming up, are popping up all over the place. And it's a great way actually of keeping people connected, supported and informed. Not just Facebook, all of these apps and stuff. That's not a plug, by the way, for Mark Zuckerberg. That's a plug for connecting. Okay, so what we also heard about is examples of where people, because it's been really difficult to get out there and get people online and stuff, and making sure that people had the right apps and all the rest of bits and pieces on phones that were able to do it. There was a really good example of where one organisation had got some phones, had stripped them down to the bare minimum, then loaded up the applications or the services that they wanted people to use to access or communicate with them and access them with. They put those on the phones already up and running, and sent them out to guys so that they could connect that way. I thought that was a really good way, actually, wasn't it? If you get the phone, you take all the rubbish off it, because it can be overwhelming if you don't understand this technology, and then just put on the bits that are really important, the bits that you need to connect, and so that people can connect elsewhere. Okay, so but what's important, I think, that we remember throughout all of this, that it's not all about computers and phones. Absolutely not. So first thing, there's something about access to phones, tablets and computers, getting hold of the hardware. I know that for us as an organisation, it's been a challenge in the past, and we've given out lots of phones and pads and laptops and stuff because people just can't genuinely afford it. And there's some really, really good examples of that happening elsewhere to facilitate people so that they've got the gear, the hardware, if you like. But what's important when we do offer up the hardware for people, give them access to communications by giving them these phones or tablets or computers, it's important that the systems that we give them, or the hardware we give them, has the capability to run the relevant apps. I mean, that sounds really simple, doesn't it? But do we genuinely stop and think and like, okay, we've got a bunch of pads or phones or computers, and we've kept the cost down on them, and we hand them out, and then all of a sudden we find that actually perhaps they don't have the little cameras, perhaps they don't have the capacity or the speed or the gigs or the RAMs or whatever it is that you need, I don't know, to be able to run some of these programs. We need to stop and think about that. One of the big challenges that we've come across, and I'm seeing right now, is about data plans and people being able to access the internet. So people have, in the past, have used Wi-Fi, so they've gone to cafes and libraries and day centres and places and services where they can hook up their hardware to the local Wi-Fi service and then access stuff through that. But actually, right now, that's all disappeared, hasn't it? There was, again, some more examples of where you could buy dongles and put data on them and hand those out so people could connect through those datas or through those dongles onto the internet. But it's important that we get the right amount of data on these things, isn't it? If people can't access through Wi-Fi, through other local services, libraries and day centres, etc., and they're having to do it from home, that's absolutely really difficult for a lot of people. They might have a SIM-only contract where they just top it every now and again. You stick someone watching this video, that's eaten up their, could easily eat up their monthly data. So we really need to think about data plans for people and how they can have free access to the internet and use the internet when they need to be able to do it, and not go, well, actually, I'm not going to participate or engage, or I'm not going to get involved in it. I want to save my data for something else. I want to speak to my mum tonight. Why wouldn't you? For sure. So that really asks or begs the question about removing data caps and open access to free Wi-Fi hotspots. I know that it's something that was talked about, and there's a report that's just come out, I've seen this morning, talking about or showing graphs where people's access to the internet and the ability to be able to use it. And actually, there is only a small percentage of the population that aren't on the internet and access it. But actually, it's probably are part of the community, the less resourced up who aren't accessing it. So again, that removing data caps by service providers, phone service providers, and opening up free Wi-Fi hotspots for people, absolutely, really, really important. There is a campaign running. I would invite you all to go and have a look at it. I'll put a link below. And what they're doing is they're campaigning for, at this present moment in time, free data for everyone, or removal of data caps, which is really important. Okay, going on from that, there is another part that we need to be thinking about and really recognise that we can have all the hardware in the world, we can have as much data capacity in the world, and like fibre optic this and super zooming 5G, whatever, but actually digital literacy is a huge climb and step up for people, understanding how all of this works and how we engage, and how do we do this bit where we type on the thing, and what happens if I press this button, and will I lose everything, that fear of it, and really simple stuff like not being able to it says digital literacy. What about basic literacy? Lots of people might be shy, embarrassed, or feel stigmatized because they don't have the skill sets, whether that's digital or literacy skill sets. and maybe don't engage. It is quite a daunting thing. It really, really is. There's a big shout out here actually to Learn My Way, which offers a course on basic computer skills. Again, a link below. And Homeless Link have run a project looking at increasing digital skills or literacy across the sector. So another link in there for you below. What we found actually is I might come across as digital literacy. I've got all the techie kit and bits and pieces because I think that's what's going to make me better, because I'm really mortified and frightened of all of this stuff. But actually, it is about our understanding of it. And I don't have a massive understanding of how things work. So a really, really good example of this is the meeting that we held. It was the first time we'd held a meeting on Zoom for such a large group, nearly 40 people in the room, and to facilitate a conversation. So this isn't a webinar. This is a conversation where you want as many people as possible contributing, drawing out all of that wisdom, to try and get people to speak and manage that on a Zoom, sat where I am right now. I found really, really challenging. By the end of it, I walked away and I felt I'd like run a marathon or something. It was like, whew. So if I feel like that, and I'm pretty skilled up, relatively skilled up, I should say. What about people who aren't skilled up? The fear and the anxiety that they had, which must have replicated the stuff that the fear and anxiety I was having before the meeting, maybe 10 times worse. So we really, really need to think about that. And there was a guy in the meeting who actually brought it smack home to us. He turned around and I did a little check-in, so I get people to write in the chat how they're feeling right now. And he wanted to put he was feeling balanced, but he couldn't spell balanced, or wasn't confident about spelling balance, and so he put okay. What was really good, he shared that with us later in the meeting, and that was such an important thing, that actually this whole digital skill sets, or digital literacy, and our own literacy skills are so key and important in all of this, and actually can act as a real barrier for people engaging. So remember that one when you're working out all your plans and sending out your dongles and your hardware and stuff. Okay, so what we also talked about is about what needed to happen. So we talked about a little bit about funding and flexibility and grants and stuff. So what we do know is this, that lots and lots of funders are allowing people to reprofile what the grant was for. They're being really, really flexible on the what we need, or what you need to be able to report back to, or what you need, or your reporting systems. So there's lots and lots of flexibility. But here's a bit of wisdom that came out of the room that I want to share with you. Actually, what's happening now is that people aren't. So here we go, Expert Link. What we do is we get a bunch of people together. We pay for their travel, slap up some pizzas, for lunchtime and stuff like that, and then pay for their travel back home, and we give them vouchers. We're not doing that right now. So if you think about that as a resource of money, isn't that a resource of money now that we can reprofile and use to help to support people to get onto or into the digital world by the purchasing hardware if we can, supporting people with that internet access data and stuff like that. So I think that that's a lesson for us to think about from the meeting, and it's something actually that you can think about. And actually, if you're watching this and you're not the man in charge of the budgets and stuff at your organisation, or you're somebody who engages with an organisation and struggling with data, present that story. Say to them, hey, listen, actually, you're not paying for my travel now. You're not paying for my pizza. I'm not getting any vouchers from you. Can you sort me out a dongle? Can you sort me out X? Can you sort me out Y? I think that's a really, really great thing. And I absolutely know right now that funders are going to support grant finders, grant holders to reprofile their grants to enable them to do that. No one is going to say no right now. So do it. Okay. So what needs to happen and going forward and stuff like that? I think that what was really important for us, and it has been for a long time, but it was really good to hear in the room as well, that actually this is an opportunity. We have to accept this as an opportunity rather than wallow in self-pity and doom and gloom. Let's grasp this up as an opportunity, because here's the thing. People who couldn't or wouldn't engage before, maybe that was because of travel, maybe whatever reasons it was, maybe didn't like sitting in a room with other people, or for, they had other things to do that day. By upskilling them and giving them the hardware and the data and the data that they might need to access stuff, they might now be able to access and engage more often. They might be able to engage if they're not engaged before. So it's a real opportunity to engage with people. And here's the thing, if decision-making processes are becoming more digital, and they genuinely are, we're not going to forget all this digital world we got and dump it. When we come out of this, we're going to take that learning. We've changed forever. But if decisions are being made digitally, then others who should be involved in that decision-making process can now be genuinely involved. Can't they? You can bring them into the room on Zoom. How amazing is that? So the other thing is that actually, because people are more isolated now, there's an opportunity to help them to become unisolated, and they might be more inclined to get involved digitally, whereas before they might have thought it was too overwhelming and too much for them, and now it becomes perhaps more of a necessity and a need, and that human need to connect with people. I know I've seen so much of that over the last couple of 3 weeks, so maybe that's an opportunity there. So let's grasp it, shall we, guys? Let's take this as an opportunity, connect more people, connect people who perhaps wouldn't have been connected before, think about how we can bring people into our decision-making processes and into the room. And, we can come out this in a much, much better place. I'm really confident about that. But remember, here's a couple of things. Remember, holding online meetings to discuss digital inaccessibility and co-production is clearly paradoxical. What we need to do, and we must ensure that any practices that we finally come out with, some guidelines and stuff like that, that is absolutely co-produced. It has to be co-produced. Doesn't it? We're in a world of co-production. Okay, so I guess those are our main points. Guys, can I just ask you, humbly request of you, that you like and share this video, because I think it's important, if we're all moving online, that people hear some of those messages that we've shared today, not just from us, but from all of those amazing people in our room. You can follow us on Facebook. Go on there. We've got Sir Expert Linker page, but we've also got a couple of groups. Go on there. Follow us on Twitter at ExpertLink 2019 or ExpertLink.org, or Chris Beale at XEL. He's our policy and comms manager. Get over to, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button. Love to see your comments. Love to hear your thoughts on YouTube and in Facebook, actually. Any comments that you've got, any ideas or snippets that we can share with a wider audience, please let us know. And if you want to keep in touch and know when the next webinar or Zoom meeting we've got, and all the stuff that's coming up, go over to our website. That's expertlink.org.uk, and you'll find all our stuff, information online. Guys, it's been great speaking to you. Until next time, stay safe. Don't give up.